Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to the Monday Night Football Showdown slate between the Bears and the Vikings. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking out NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports data, fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the video, I want to thank you guys again for all support. It is greatly appreciated on the videos, the live streams, as well as on Twitter. The easiest way to support me, since all the content is currently free, is to leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and don't go live. And if you have friends that play DFS and you enjoy the content, spread the word. Again, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys cannot watch the YouTube videos, do upload an Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we talk about players and the prices from Monday's Showdown slate, let's look back on lineup here from Thursday. So Thursday's Showdown lineup, this was it was another ugly slate, Colts and Titans. And the reason being was just the Colts, right? They had 3 running backs, no real standout wide receiver, like 3 tight ends. Hard to pick from. I didn't have Hines. You needed Hines basically to cash, so that was basically my downfall. I want T.Y. and the captain, kind of hinted at that, told you guys I was doing that in the live stream. Played both quarterbacks, played Corey Davis, kind of liked him as a lower owned play. Burton at tight end, and then Wilkins was a disappointment, but it was the Nyheim Hines show, kind of out of nowhere, right? It was what we've seen from the Colts was like a pretty even split, and in that game it was a huge majority of the touches to Nyheim Hines. So that's really it for the look back. And again, I always talk about it, but the reason I don't enter a lot of money on these showdown slates is there is a ton of variance involved. Kind of like we saw with slate, right? Nyheim Hines just getting basically all the touches kind of out of nowhere. Like stuff like that can happen, and that's why I play these more for fun. But yeah, let's talk about this slate. So this is I think the 4th or 5th straight showdown slate that's just kind of ugly. But positives are, we have a really, really good Thursday night game. Cardinals, Seahawks, Kyler Murray season. You guys know it. You guys know I was all over him, obviously, in the main slate. That sick pass to DeAndre Hopkins, that was amazing. Cannot wait for that game on Thursday. But, yeah, this one, Monday night, Vikings, Bears, 43.5 over under. Vikings are 3-point favorites. So let's take a look at the snap counts here for both teams in their last game. So Dalvin Cook is, the clear workhorse back here from Minnesota. He's gone off the last couple of games. He only played 66% of the snaps last game. That's because kind of the game got out of hand against Detroit. Madison played 28%, but again, most of that was in garbage time. So Dalvin Cook is going to get a majority of the snaps here for Minnesota at running back. Wide receivers, Thielen playing 86% of the snaps. Justin Jefferson played 60%. And then Chad Beebe 29%. Olabisi Johnson 14%. So Minnesota is not a team that really likes running through wide receivers a lot. It's going to be a lot of 2 wide receiver and 1 wide receiver sets with 2 tight ends. So, yeah, with guys like Beebe and Olabisi Johnson, nothing you can really look to with confidence there. At tight end, we know Minnesota likes running 2 tight ends, and we do have Irv Smith, their pass-catching tight end, out. So Kyle Rudolph is, getting up there in age. He's still, a decent pass-catching tight end. He played 72% of the snaps. Cochran played 43% of the snaps. He's at a really cheap price where I think you can consider him on this slate. Running backs for the Bears. So this is the tricky part here of the slate. We have Montgomery out. We've known this year once Tariq Cohen has gone down, Montgomery has been, their workhorse back. They basically haven't really used anyone else. Well, now it's kind of tricky because we don't really have a clear path of what the Bears are going to do. They have Cordarrelle Patterson, kind of the running back wide receiver. They have Ryan Nall, and they called up the veteran Lamar Miller from the practice squad. So, we don't have a clear idea of what's going to happen. Nall and Cordarrelle Patterson are priced up. You have Lamar Miller at the flat min price. So we'll talk about that more in a sec with the Bears and the running backs. Wide receivers to the Bears is a little more clear-cut. Allen Robinson's status is up in the air, but I think he will be good to go. He played 95% of the snaps last game. Mooney, 87%. Anthony Miller, 69% of the snaps. Cordarrelle Patterson, Again, he'll run more at running back. Riley Ridley, kind of their number 4 right now, played 21% of the snaps. And at tight end, Jimmy Graham, the veteran, has been still getting targeted a decent amount here, played 65% of the snaps. Cole Kempt played 47% of the snaps. His status is up in the air, so that's something to keep an eye on. All right, let's start with player-by-player breakdown. At the top of the slate, we got Dalvin Cook at 13.6. Crazy, crazy price, but hard to know what he's done the last couple games here. 163 and 206 yards on the ground. This is a much tougher spot, though. Chicago's defense is a lot better than Green Bay, a lot better than Detroit. So I would not expect anywhere close to 163 and 206 yards on the ground. Now, if you guys are playing the showdown slate and you're playing cash games, you're playing 50-50s, head-to-heads, then you probably do look to Dalvin Cook because he is, again, the clear workhorse back, a high floor running backs and quarterbacks on these slates. So probably where I start my cashing lineup would be Dalvin Cook and both quarterbacks. That's probably how I would go about it. I don't necessarily think Dalvin Cook is a must-play on this slate just because of the price point, but he definitely is one of the safer options. He's still will get involved in the pass game here and there too, and again, it's going to be the majority of the carries. Minnesota is a run-first team here, so if Minnesota is playing from ahead in this game, you can definitely see 25 to 30 carries for Dalvin Cook. Allen Robinson's status currently up in the air, but I think he'll be good to go. He is their clear-cut, obviously number 1 wide receiver. It's a better matchup here for the Chicago side than it is the Minnesota side. So Robinson at 10.8K, that feels about right. Like I don't think it's super pricey. I don't think it's like too cheap either. With GPP winning lineups, again, I always mentioned it's about 75% of the time a running back or wide receiver is in the captain spot. I could definitely see a situation where Allen Robinson is in the optimal lineup in the captain. Like his upside, he's a guy that's going to get targeted a ton. Got to keep an eye on the injury. The knee injury obviously worries me a bit, but I assume he's going to be good to go. Kirk Cousins at 10-2, so this one's tricky because we know Minnesota's a run-first team. Last couple games when they've been playing from ahead, only 11 and 13 completions. Like they haven't really thrown the ball a ton. If they do fall behind in this one, then they'll have to air it out more. Obviously, we've seen a couple times so far this year against Seattle, against Atlanta. So I like the matchup better on the opposite side for Nick Foles. So Cousins, yeah, I think you still probably go there in cash because the floor is high. I'm not overly excited about jamming him in there, but I do think, again, he is a safer option on the slate. Again, I probably prefer Nick Foles at 9.8. I just like the matchup a little bit better for him. Foles has been throwing the ball a ton, probably due to the fact that they've been playing from behind. 39, 40, 41, and 52 pass attempts. Again, this is a much, much better spot here against this Minnesota defense. So I do prefer Nick Foles to Kirk Cousins if you're going to make me a pick, but I think obviously both, you can get to both and Dalvin Cook if you want to. It's just going to be, you're going to have to play a couple cheap plays from there. Adam Thielen at 10K, I think will go overlooked in the slate because of the recent form, right? Only 3 and 2 catches in the last 3 games is not great. But like I said, if they fall behind early in this one, that's where you can see Thielen's upside. So right now, he's more of a contrarian play since we know what Minnesota is. We know they're a run-first team. But I still think there's a way where Thielen can break the slate here. It's just you kind of need the good game script, right? You do need Minnesota to fall behind early. If they're playing from ahead, it's going to be a lot of Dalvin Cook. Justin Jefferson at 8.6, had a stretch of games where I think he had 3 of the last. Yeah, he had a stretch where he had 3 of 4 games of over 100 yards, and it's kind of cooled off, but they haven't really needed him because they've been playing from the big lead. So at 8.6K, feels a little bit pricey. I probably prefer getting to Thielen for a little bit more, but either way, like the Minnesota passing attack right now, I think it's just more, or at least the top 2 guys are a little bit more contrarian options. Unless you think Minnesota's is going to be playing from behind this one, which is possible. But yeah, Jefferson, Thielen, I think are a little bit pricey on this one. And Montgomery's out. We'll talk about the running backs for Chicago. Jimmy Graham's at 7.2. 8, 6, 7, and 6 targets. Still getting targeted a decent amount. I don't think he has amazing upside. I think he's still a little bit pricey, but definitely viable. Obviously, there's someone they can look to in the red zone. Mooney at 6.6, I like a good amount here in the mid-range. He's playing a majority of the game. He's running the big routes, right? He's last 3 games 7, 6, and 11 targets. He's got some big play upside in him. And like I said, I like the matchup more on this side of the ball for the Chicago guys than I do the Minnesota side. So Darnell Mooney in the mid-range is one of my favorite plays at his price. Ryan Nall's 6'2", so this is just a question of what is Chicago going to do with the running backs? Is it going to be Cordarrelle Patterson? Is it going to be Ryan Nall? Is it going to be Lamar Miller? Well, we don't have a good feel right now. Hopefully we get some sort of clarity from the beat writers of what it's going to be, before lock tomorrow. We'll talk about that in the live stream. But right now, it's kind of up in the air. So, at 6.2K for Ryan Nall, I don't know if I'm overly excited about it because I don't know if I don't think he's going to be a true workhorse back, right? I think it's going to be some Cordarrelle Patterson. Obviously, it's going to be Nall. I think Lamar Miller gets some touches too. And Lamar Miller's cheapest of the bunch. Again, Cordarrelle Patterson's at 5'2". They'll line him out wide sometimes, and he'll get some carries as well. How much work is he going to get at running back is in question too. Does he get more work? Again, is it Nall? Is it Lamar Miller? So that's the big question mark on this slate. But yeah, Nall's at 6'2", Patterson's at 5'2", and then we have Lamar Miller at the flat min. So, obviously Lamar looks the best for his price, but is he going to get enough work to pay off his salary is the question. Anthony Miller's at 4.8K. He is their number 3 receiver, but still has had 11 and 8 targets in the last couple games. He's still a young guy that has upside. If Allen Robinson does get ruled out in this one, then I really like Mooney and Miller at their respective prices. If A-Rob gets out, if Allen Robinson gets ruled out, I'm probably playing both Mooney and Miller. If Allen Robinson plays, again, I still really like Mooney. Miller's at 4.8 is a fair enough price for number 3 receiver. He still played a good amount of the game, right? He played 69% of the snaps, again, partly due to them playing from behind. But the Bears do like running through wide receiver sets, so Miller is someone I'm looking to in the mid-range. And we have no Irv Smith. We'll talk about some cheaper Minnesota guys. Both kickers with Bailey and Santos are viable. There's really not a ton of value on the slate. It's pretty thin. Usually on these showdown sites, there's at least some, standout value. Not really on this slate. So the kickers are safer value options. I'm definitely considering them on this one. Kyle Rudolph, I think it looks okay at 3.4. I know he's getting up there in age. He doesn't have as much upside as he did when he was a younger player in the NFL. But with no Irv Smith, maybe they'll rely on him a little bit more. Sure, I think he's a cheap option that you can look to with there being very, very, very little value. Now, I like what Draftkings did here with the defenses. They finally priced them down, right? Because we just had some insane price points for defenses this year, and people have been playing them, right? Over 7K for defenses that have been 40% owned is just mind-boggling. But this is a slate where I think I can get to either defense here with the Bears and the Vikings. Now, which one do I prefer? Where the Bears defense is the better defense. But I would probably say Minnesota's offense is slightly better. So, tricky one. I think I do prefer the Bears defense still at 3.2K. Kirk Cousins is a guy that is prone to turnovers. They're at a cheap enough price where I think you can get to them. So, yeah, I'm definitely considering both defenses in the slate. Again, Bears offense has really struggled. No Montgomery. So, I think you can at least consider the Vikings defense as well. But yeah, this is a slate, if you guys have been watching my showdown videos all year, normally I'm not overly excited about the defenses. This is a slate where I like the defenses. Madison at 2K. I know he had 12 carries that last game, but again, that was mostly due to the blowouts. So I don't think he gets a ton of work. Maybe he'll get a couple touches here and there at $2,000. At least you can throw him in consideration, but pretty risky. Olabisi Johnson is their number 4 receiver. Not really for me, right? He played, let's go to Minnesota. He played 14% of snaps. Yeah, nothing you can go to with confidence. Chad Beebe played a little bit more at 1K, so if you're going to make me pick one of those, the number 3 wide receiver for the Vikings, I guess it would be Chad Beebe just because he played more. Played 29% of snaps, but still did not get targeted. Cole Kempt is at $800. His status is currently up in the air. He's actually a pretty talented tight end. If he does play, I think he's someone I can look to for a value option. If he misses, we can look to guy Demetrius Harris, who is their 3rd string tight end. Now, Conklin is the Vikings' 3rd string tight end, but he is going to be their backup tight end in this one. And where's the Vikings? When Smith went down, he basically came in and he played 43% of the snaps. And we know Minnesota likes running 2 tight ends a lot. So Conklin at this price point, I think looks like a pretty good option. I know he hasn't got targeted at all so far this season, but if he's going to be out there majority of the game, I think you can look to him. Other options, so again, Demetrius Harris. If Cole Kempt is out, I think you can look to Demetrius Harris. He's had some games where he's had 3 targets. Again, $200 obviously doesn't need a lot to pay off his salary. So if Kempt is out, I think you could look to Demetrius Harris. And then finally, I want to mention Lamar Miller. So we haven't seen a lot from Lamar Miller, obviously, the last couple of years. He went down early in 2019 in the preseason. He's called up from the practice squad. Does he still have some left in the tank? I don't know. But he is the cheapest of these Bears running backs with him, Null, and Patterson. So I guess I feel like the best with Lamar Miller and his price. But yeah, right now we don't really know what the Bears are going to do with the running backs. It just could be a 3-way split with Patterson, Null, and Miller. Is one going to stand out more than the other? Hopefully we get some sort of clarity on that before lockout. I'll be looking out on Twitter, looking for beat writers, see if we get any sort of indication to what the Bears are going to do. But right now I think Lamar Miller is a viable punt play at $200. So that's really it for the player-by-player breakdown. Again, not a lot of value, right? Like, this slate is pretty ugly, a lower over-under. But yeah, let's talk about cash games. So for cash, I'll probably look to a guy like obviously Dalvin Cook and both quarterbacks with Cousins and Foles. If you throw them all in the flex, what does that leave you with? Leaves you with 5.4K remaining. So you would have to get, you would have to obviously get to some value. You could, I think, if you play Dalvin Cook, fade Kirk Cousins and just hope Minnesota's playing from ahead and it's just a heavy dose of Dalvin Cook. That's an option. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a must play. You could go like, if this is talking cash games, right? You could go with Dalvin Cook and Captain Foles, and then that leaves you 4.9K remaining. Then you can kind of mess with it. So yeah, mess around with the roster construction, but the quarterbacks on these slates do have the highest floor. A guy like Dalvin Cook, since he's a true workhorse back, obviously has a really high floor too. So that's why those guys kind of look like good cash game plays. Guys I'm looking to for in the captain for GPPs. Well, Allen Robinson, if he plays, we know he's got a ton of upside. I think a guy like Darnell Mooney in the mid-range, I like a good amount. Cheaper options, well, I got the Vikings wide receivers with Thielen and Justin Jefferson. It's all about the game flow because Minnesota is going to pound the rock if they're playing from ahead. But they do fall behind. You could see upside here from Thielen and Jefferson, but right now I think they're more contrarian plays at their respective price points. And then you just get to cheaper options. Like, do you want to take a dart throw on a guy like Kyle Rudolph or Noah Smith? Do you want to take a shot in one of those Bears running backs and hope that the guy that you play gets the majority of the work? So that's really it for me and the player-by-player breakdown. Again, we'll talk about more of roster construction and obviously injury news in the live stream tomorrow. I'll be live streaming 30 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, guys, going over everything, answering all your guys' questions. So as always, make sure to check out the live stream, guys. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the video. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, when I'm live. Again, 30 minutes before lock, I will be live tomorrow. Make sure to check it out. Thanks again. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.